what we've observed from the standpoint of the pattern of people who have been successful is there's this process of prehabilitation. We call it PARM now. There's this process of prehabilitation where you have to get yourself ready for the battle. Then there is, we call the assist rather than kill, because one of the things you taught us is that the immune system always wins the game, right? So you have to assist your immune system. Don't expect that you're going to take a pill and you're going to get, the bug is going to be dead or the bug's going to be dead and you're going to be better, right? But then there's the rehab phase where you have to go through the process of rehabilitating, and then there's the maintenance phase because you could ultimately find yourself backsliding for one reason or another. So, so I think to be fair to folks in the Lyme community, you need to go through all 4 phases, and it has to be something you have to stay with for the rest of your life. And I think what you're building here is a system that allows all 4 stages to be available to folks so that they will live a healthy life for the rest of their lives. And I'm really excited that you've done that.
So another thing, though, is you have to understand the nature of the problem. And I think that's where conventional medicine and a lot of others, even the Lyme world, where they go wrong is not understanding the nature of chronic Lyme disease, the nature of the bacteria. And I think that's really important. So if you have an acute pneumonia, the pill, the quick fix, is the right solution because you've got bacteria that are turning over every 20 minutes in your body. They're growing very fast, and that's how antibiotics work. You have to have fast growth. But for Borrelia, Babesia, Bartonella, all these microbes that we talk about that we call stealth microbes, they grow very slowly. So compared to pneumococcal pneumonia bacteria, turning over every 20 minutes, Borrelia, 12 to 24 hours. And not only that, most people with chronic Lyme, the bacteria have been in their system a long time. They got a tick bite, they penetrated their tissues, they became dormant inside their cells. So when they're sick, they're constantly reactivating, but they're growing very, very slowly. So an antibiotic, well, you disrupt your gut and generate antibiotic-resistant pathogens before you actually get to the bacteria to actually making a difference. And so what herbs allow you to do is keeping pressure on for a very long time. And that's what you have to do to win the battle. But even that has to be a stepwise, systemic fashion.
Dr. Rawls, real quick, I want to ask you a question about that because I think the antibiotic use is a common thing in the Lyme community before people step into the herbal arena. But for myself personally, I know antibiotic overuse as a child and then antibiotic overuse when I became sick with chronic sinus infections, things like that when I had chronic Lyme, caused my gut to be destroyed. And I was always getting sick. I was always getting the cold from people that I was around. And I think that was a direct result from the microbes in my gut being just obliterated, not having a good diversity of microbes. So can you talk about that piece a little bit? It's
a terrible problem. And antibiotic overuse is actually a much more critical problem than chronic Lyme disease. I mean, people get sick and chronically ill and they eventually die of complications of chronic Lyme, but the bacteria itself isn't a killer. So when you look at our problem with antibiotics, just this indiscriminate use, people are more susceptible to chronic illness because their gut has been wrecked by overuse of antibiotics. Plus, every time you use an antibiotic, you've got 10 days before you start generating antibiotic-resistant pathogens in your body and in the community at large. And we haven't made new antibiotics since 1985 when I was in medical school. So right now, every year, antibiotic-resistant pathogens kill well over 1 million people every year. And that's been growing since the 1990s. It gets more every single year. So overuse of antibiotics. So if you're deciding to use 6 months of antibiotics, you're contributing to that problem and putting yourself at potential grave harm.
So Matt, why don't we talk a little bit about the Restore Kit and our journey together with the Restore Kit? Because initially Matt was afraid to use the Restore Kit. So I always became the minor bird. When Matt wanted to try something, but he was afraid because he was sick and he was always concerned about a relapse or becoming sicker, he said, Rich, you're not unhealthy. Why don't you try it, right? So the Restore Kit was something that I tried first because Matt was afraid that if he used it, he would get sicker, right? And in large part, I wanted to try it because you and I had a conversation about how often I was using antibiotics because I'm bitten by ticks ticks all the time. Now, of course, I had a childhood where I had an aggressive, by the way, Italian-American mother who would bring me to the doctor all the time, and every time we went to the doctor, we would get the bubblegum medicine, which was antibiotics, over and over and over again. So you and I had a conversation about that part of my childhood journey. And then, of course, because I've been bitten by ticks so often, I was using antibiotics as a result of tick bites, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things you suggested to me was that I might want to consider using the Restore Kit prophylactically, because I'm living in a tick endemic community. I'm constantly finding ticks on me, on my dogs, on family members, and that's why I decided to start using the Restore Kit. Now, I didn't realize I was going to get all the other benefits I was going to get. So part of it was I thought to myself, well, let me try this, because I am in a tick endemic community, and part of it is let me help my friend Matt out and show him I'm not going to get sick by trying the Restore Kit, and it might work for you. And I have to tell you, I mean, it has been unbelievably awesome for me to use this kit. Now I'm going to knock on some wood, because I've not had a single illness from the time I started the Restore Kit until today. I've not had to go to the doctor once since I used the Restore Kit until today. And I did have a tick bite between when I started using the Restore Kit and today. And I made the decision not to use antibiotics, and I did not get sick. And I think it's because my immune system became more robust that I did not have to have any concerns. Now, I may have always had a robust enough immune system not to get sick, because I've been bitten by ticks my entire life. But I had the confidence, and I really am blessed to have had the option to make the decision, because if I had gone to the doctor, that's what the protocol would have been. And of course, if you want to use antibiotics, they're generally not going to give it to you longer. So Matt, why don't you talk a little bit about that, and how my use of the Restore Kit was?
Yeah, I just want to intervene and say that, if you get a tick bite, I think the CDC recommendations are that, 12 days or 20 days of what they recommend for antibiotics, that's a reasonable thing to do. And I wouldn't counter that, but I always recommend that don't stop there. Take the herbs, because there's plenty of evidence to suggest that it's not going to kill all the bacteria in your body, and you still need something extra. But, follow your doctor's recommendations, follow the CDC protocol, but use good sense otherwise too.
So Dr. Rawls, as an IT professional, I love AI, right? So tell us a little bit more about the research you're doing with AI and what your plan is for the future, and how you think that can help our community even more than you already have.
Well, I've been spending a lot of time with ChatGPT over the past years, and training it to think the way I want it to think, which I think is really important to get credible information. But it's accelerated my ability to research these concepts, sort out the logic to make sure that I'm giving people good information, to make sure the evidence is actually there, and then be able to write it and generate content faster. Because when you really get down to it, this isn't about chronic Lyme disease. This is about changing our perception of what chronic illness is and approaching it differently, because right now 60% of the population is chronically ill, and the care they're getting is not solving the problem, because it's treating the symptoms and manifestations of chronic illness and not the underlying causes. So when you shift that and start asking, well, what are the actual root causes of chronic illness? It puts you into a totally different place. And that aspect is being completely and totally ignored by our conventional medical system. So my hope is that's where we're going with this thing, is a broader education that changes our perception of what chronic illness is, so we move to a totally different place.
So let me ask a more narrow question. So what's the future of Restore 180? The near future.
We're just going to keep building it. It's already really, really good. I mean, I put so much work into putting content and refining it. I'm halfway there. I've got so much more that I want to do with this thing. It's just going to keep getting better.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really going to get better.
So I just want to provide hope for everybody listening, because when I heard the fact that 60% of the world is suffering from a chronic illness, it took me by surprise. But then when I thought about it, I said, no, I know probably 6 out of 10 people in my life that I know personally have a chronic illness, and it's just going to get worse. So this is desperately needed, and I can't wait to see where we're going to be in a couple of years, and 5 years, and 10 years, thanks to your hard work and everybody who understands it's a deeper problem than just band-aiding these illnesses, Dr. Rawls. So we can't thank you enough for everything you're doing. It's truly going to change the world. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's when you have something that happened in my life, and it changed my career, everything, it becomes a passion instead of just a job.
So Dr. Rawls, tell us specifically though, which herbs can help after a tick bite, because we've asked you this before, and I hope that I'm right, because I tell people all the time what they should do. If they choose to do antibiotics, great, but I tell everybody they should use your advanced biotic bottle, because that has the strongest antimicrobials to combat a potential acute infection. So is that what you recommend, your advanced biotic product for people with an acute tick bite?
We actually have two products that work well. Advanced Biotics is exceptionally good. Also Biome Boost so it really depends on whether you want to use capsules, which is quick and easy, or a tincture. So we do have some preferences there. And so there are a lot of great herbs with antimicrobial properties, but there are not a lot of great herbs that have been tested for some of these main tick-borne infections, Borrelia, Bartonella, Babesia, and those type. But we have some really nice studies looking at specific herbs. Japanese knotweed, that's top of the list. Chinese skullcap, that's top of the list. Cryptolepis, those are the big ones. Second to that, cat's claw is really good. Garlic is really good. To kind of round it out, Andrographis offers a different set of properties, but I generally combine it with some good immune modulating adaptogens like reishi and cordyceps, who kind of round up that whole package and do a nice job. So they're found, and herbs that are similar to that are found in those different products.
Okay, so the whole restore kit.
The whole restore kit. And we're going to pick this up on a different part of this video, but I do want to address what Rich said, because jumping right into the restore kit is good for some people like Rich, but may not be so great for people like myself when I'm so afraid to jump into it. So I think you've developed this new combination protocol that helps people get adjusted and step into the protocol to not get sick and to alleviate the fears that I have. But that's going to be coming in a little bit in the next part of this little video session that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what that Restore 180 is all about.
All right, so Dr. Rawls, one of the biggest things Rich and I hear all the time from people is they're afraid to try something new because they might feel worse, and they feel like if they get any worse, it's just going to be crippling, and there's extreme anxiety there. And the other part of it is they don't feel like they're being properly guided how to step into treatment when there's so many unknowns. Yeah. Now, you've heard that as well, and you've taken it into consideration, and that's how you've built your latest protocol that you're now helping people with. So can you talk to us about that, because that fear needs to be overcome so people can step into this and finally get their health back?
Yeah, I think that was listening to customers, listening to folks like you, and just looking at how do we get more people on the program. So I would say half of people can just start the Restore Kit, they do great, and that's the end, and they just keep getting better. But half of people are going to struggle, because you think about it, the whole body is in turmoil, and when you look at all the cellular stress and the microbe reactivation and everything that's going on inside the body, that generates this overriding sympathetic tone that they can't sleep, and it disrupts detoxification and gut and just everything. So their body is a mess, and then if you throw a bunch of potent herbs in there on top of that, it just worsens the whole situation. So we took that into consideration and backed off and said, how can we systematically ease people into the program and carry them through a process, a transformation? And that's what this Restore 180 is all about. So we start taking people off much easier. So we start with looking at that sympathetic overactivity. So the first 2 months are devoted toward just calming things down in the body. Calming, getting people back to sleep, getting them so that they can function, so they're just not agitated all the time. And there are products to support that. The HPA Balance product helps just bring that down a little bit without being something that's going to have the properties of a drug that are going to cause problems later down the road. So we get them on that. We do want to address the microbes right up front. So some years ago, I created a tincture called Biome Boost that has Cryptolepis and a number of other immune modulating herbs, and it's a good formula, but you can do it in drops. It's not nearly as concentrated as the powdered extracts.
Right.
So we ease them into that as they are able. And
it's literally a giant dropper full, and somebody can do one drop, which is like 1/100th of the dose, correct?
Right,
yes.
Right. And we still support with B vitamins and other support minerals and vitamins and other herbs and glutathione and NAC and everything to help to just restore that cellular health, to get a foot in the door. But it's more than just the products. It's about the process. And we created this wonderful community that people are in there with people that are going through the same stage that they are. It's moderated. There are mentors constantly looking over to look at the conversation. And in me, for my part, I built these lessons, recorded videos and content in the network that no matter what kind of question somebody might have, they're going to be able to find the answers there.
And that comes with, if somebody were to buy your protocol, they gain access to that platform, correct?
It's everything.
And I really want to highlight
group health coaching calls. They get a free health coach, personal health coaching call, right from the get-go. So we've just built in an extraordinary amount of support, but you're in there with other people that are doing the same thing, but you're in there with people that are above your level that are mentoring what you're doing, so you don't feel alone. And it's all about generating positive energy instead of just, being there in the turmoil of how do we lift you out of the turmoil.
Yeah.
And so from there, so that's 2 months, and then we move into working on gut and detoxification because the body's ready by then. We still haven't gotten to those main products yet, right? So we're still on Biome Boost. We trade out, we add gut balance just to protect the gut, we're stepping into a different phase. But people are, they've matured into that by then. And it's not until the last 2 months that we really get into the more powerful products. But people are ready by then, and
emotionally and physically.
Correct.
Emotionally and physically, and they have so much more knowledge. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day and he said, the products are great, but I would do this program just for the education.
Yes.
Because I know so much more about my condition and what I've got to do to overcome my condition than I did when I started. That alone was worth everything that I've done.
Yeah, and I can't overemphasize the value of your platform and your app, because one of the things that's hardest for me as a patient when I was really sick and everybody else is all the negativity and the toxic environment on social media. You're going to be put more into fight or flight. You're going to feel like you're never going to get better. And there's a lot of that going on because people are really sick. But your platform is moderated and it's meant to boost people up and encourage them, not hold them down. And that's a really important component to healing, as Rich noted, emotionally, to grow, to be able to handle the full protocol to get your health back.
It's so important. And we've seen that. Because before, we had a Facebook private group and we couldn't control it, and it was Facebook's platform and it just didn't do what we wanted to. With this, it's doing everything we want it to be.
I think what a lot of
really
people don't understand, Dr. Rawls, is you have a lot of unhealthy people, and because they're unhealthy physically and emotionally, in many cases just lashing out. Not because they're bad, not because they're mean, but they're just not feeling well. And one of the things that Matt and I had to do on our platform is anytime something negative came in, because it would be triggering for Matt, I would have to answer any of the challenges, and I would have to deal with that in the context of a platform we couldn't control. So we strongly urge people to stay off of social media when they're going through their healing journey, and now we have a place where we can funnel them where they can have a healthy environment. So one more thing I do want to talk about in my real life, I'm a business attorney. And when I'm teaching entrepreneurship to the young business professionals I work with, I share with them that there are 3 different business models. This is also known as the Brunson value ladder, where the lowest level of value and of course the cheapest is going to be the do-it-yourself model. Then the next step in the Brunson value ladder is do it together. It's more money and more value. And then of course the top step is going to be the done-for-you model, which is the highest price and the highest value. And the traditional Western medical model is done for you. Of course, there are limitations with insurance, but it's done for you. And what we've always wanted was something other than, because what we're scared the most about is people saying you have to become your own doctor, which is, never going to result in a good outcome. Someone had to create this done together model, and it looks like you've done it. You've done it where it's reasonably priced, full of value, and reasonably priced and affordable and full of value for a community of people who are not being served by the medical system, because the only way that you can get the true done-for-you model in the Lyme community is step out of the insurance system, and then it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And at one point, Matt would regularly ask on our podcast, how much money have you spent on Lyme treatment? And it was in excess of $100,000 every single time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, you know, the problem with that done for you model though is it's not working for most people.
Sure.
Not.
It's just not working. People are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars and they're not getting well. That's one of the big reasons why I created Vital Plan, is because I realized that, and my journey was different. I was stuck in a situation where I couldn't do all that. I had to figure it out for myself, and but I got well on a fraction of the cost of what most people spend. And it's like, I need to make this available, so we did that. But that our program isn't designed to exclude a provider, and we're actually talking to providers and networks of providers to try to go, yeah, there is a need for a provider. You need to do some testing. You need to do prescriptions. There are things that you're going to need.
And we strongly advocate.
But if we can educate you so you're using that provider smarter,
Yes.
you're not going to spend so much, and you're not going to end up buying things that aren't going to make you well.
Truth.
And so, because, be frank with the whole thing, healing comes from inside your body. And if you're not creating an environment that's promoting healing, you're just not going to get well, and that just doesn't come from a doctor's office.
Right. Well, I mean, and you have to take some agency, and you have to take control of your healing journey. And one of the things that Matt has always done is, despite working, I don't want to say despite, but in addition to working with the Vital Plan, he's always had a primary care physician. He's always worked with these doctors, and the testing has repeatedly demonstrated that he's gotten better and better as a result of using these tools.
Right. It's measurable. And the thing is, for people out there listening, it's important to find doctors who are open-minded. So I had doctors, as Rich noted, I had primary care doctors, neurologists, and I even had rheumatologists who weren't open-minded. Take steroids. Well, I did when I was, super early into this, and it made me really bad. So when I found doctors that were open-minded, I printed out everything and said, hey, look, here are these herbs for your store kit, for your products. And I said, can you look at these? They go, we don't know anything about it, but we'll look into it. They come back and go, oh, wow, these are pretty good. Yeah, okay, try it. But we didn't know anything about it, but let us report back. And now all of them are like, wow, this is amazing. So I have a good team of doctors that are covered by my insurance, and they understand, not at your level, but what I'm taking. And together, between everything you've done in your specialty, plus the support of my care team, I've been able to get into a good place. And I think that's really critical, to have medical professionals locally under insurance with a product like yours, if possible, because that's the best possible, I think, way you can move forward to get better and heal, having that broad support team around you.
That's exactly where we want people to be. And it seems to be moving in that direction. And I think people are finding more and more providers that are willing to do what doctors are supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
partner up with their patients.
And pull this in and make it a positive experience. So far, early stages. I mean, we're just graduating our first full 6 months group, and 90% of them had stayed on the whole time, and that in itself,
congratulations,
speaks very highly for the program.
Yeah, this morning, everybody at the practice session for the New York Fashion Week Lyme Awareness Project Lab Coat event, we're saying, how do we get doctors to understand that alternative medicine and herbs can be helpful? And my answer was what you just said, right? We just talked about is, as patients like us go to these doctors and aren't getting better with traditional pharmaceuticals, then we say, hey, look, we're gonna go on these herbals. And they see our blood work improve on the herbals in a way they never could on the pharmaceuticals. That's how these doctors will become more open-minded, to realize, wow, there's value. Let me recommend this to my other patients that are going through something similar. And then if we all do that, we're gonna be able to really expand our awareness and have other people get help that aren't as well versed as you are, Dr. Rawls. And that's my hope for the future.
Yeah, it's all about educating people. And I think that's really, really valuable, because there are biases in the medical system against herbs that are long-standing, and they haven't, and it's just going to be hard to overcome them. So individual doctors who really care and listen to their patients will become more open to it. But we have to educate people.
Yep.
And that's a big part of my platform, is just doing great education. But right now I'm in this big research project that I'm researching and building out monographs for all of the antimicrobial herbs that I can find. And what was really interesting is a lot of them have been tested more in modern times and found to be very effective for Mycobacterium, the bacteria that causes tuberculosis. So in 1900, or industrial ages up to 1900, tuberculosis was a major killer. That was the chronic illness, the chronic microbial illness that everybody had. So I was having a conversation with ChatGPT, and it's like, what, we know about all these herbs, and they had them then. Why weren't they using them? And it said there were long-standing biases even then in the medical profession against herbs, and they were doing leaching and bleeding and things like that didn't really work, but they wouldn't use the herbs.
Yeah.
And then you look at it, and the reason for all the tuberculosis was the poor living conditions that people were exposed to.
Yeah.
So, so it's not the drugs that have cured tuberculosis.
Yeah.
It was that we improved our standard of living.
Yes.
So I think that's a big message. And so anybody can learn about herbs. And I think it's really invaluable to do that kind of education and get it out there. And I think it just puts me in a unique situation of being an MD that's talking about that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping people are listening. It's a really important conversation.